1. Hi everyone, it's Patricia Warby, Alchemy Therapies here, and another in my ongoing series of conversations with friends and colleagues. And today I'd like to welcome someone I've known, well, it must be getting on 10 years now, I expect, Andy Anderson. Yes, Andy Anderson, and he's a complementary therapist. He does an awful lot of different things. And I know he's an absolute mine of information on all sorts of health related matters. So welcome, Andy. And I just wanted to ask you, like I do everyone, how did you get involved in doing what you're doing now?
I've done lots of different things in my life. Yachts, boats. I was in construction for 10 years, and while I was doing that, I hurt my back. And I went, I didn't know anything very much about complementary medicine at that time. So I went to the medical route and the doctors, and they did nothing. I had some quite good exercises called the McKenzie regime, which was quite good. But basically I was working in pain for about 2 years. And I got absolutely fed up with that. And I could see it round about me, you know, all the old boys on the side going, oh, my elbow, oh, my knees, oh, my back. And I thought, goodness me, I really do not want to be like that in my old age. So I went back to a doctor and I said, look, I want to go to a chiropractor to see if they can do anything about my back. And he said, oh, you don't want to go to one of them quacks. I kind of looked at him and I thought, oh, okay. So I went away and I was still in pain. So a couple of months later, I went to a chiropractor. Within 3 sessions, they explained to me that I'd dislodged my left sacroiliac joint and that it was now back in place, and that I'd have to be a bit careful with lifting for a while, and I didn't want to do certain movements with force. And that was fine, and for years I could get on with my life. One thing I couldn't do was turn a trolley around the end of the aisle in the supermarket. That was one of my limitations, that I couldn't do that. I had to walk it around and then push it in the direction I wanted. So I couldn't do that rotation thing. But I also knew that I couldn't continue to work in construction. And I would need to retrain. So then it was a question of, well, what on earth am I going to do? And my partner at the time was interested in reflexology and feet. So I continued to work in construction, but I'd started doing Saturday courses at City College. So I did my basic massage and continued to work to put bread on the table. And my partner at the time did a complementary therapies diploma. So we started a joint business basically, and gradually just shifted over. I did body massage and Indian head massage plus the anatomy and physiology with it. And I did the aromatherapy, which initially, before I knew anything about it, I wasn't particularly interested in. I wanted to do sports. But you know, it took about 2 weeks before I discovered that playing with oils was exactly the same as playing with herbs and spices when you cooked. It was great fun, and a very valuable treatment. So I took to that like a duck to water, and it was the course I could do on a Saturday. And then I realized that to do my sports therapy, it was a bigger course. I needed 2 days at college, 2 days home study. So I did that at Fareham College, and worked 3 days on the black economy to put bread on the table. Then I moved over, working a day in a chiropractic clinic as a massage therapist, where I met a very interesting guy called Harry Rowe, and he invited me to do the massage therapies at a new practice that he was opening in Alton. That was the start of my professional career then. So a case of not sort of one winding thing, but a case of moving over. I never had the opportunity of doing something like a 3-year degree course. So for about 8 years, I did a diploma course or more, picking up bits and pieces.
Yeah, Interesting. I've never put you as a construction worker. I don't know why. It's an interesting history, isn't it? But
Well,
then,
there's kind of problem solving, and kind of
yeah,
that's what I
yeah,
still
yeah,
do is problem solving.
yeah. It's true, isn't it?
But
Yeah.
it is with people, which of course I much prefer,
Yes.
rather than with materials.
Yes. Yes. No, fair
So
enough.
some of my approach is actually still the same.
Yeah.
As
Yeah.
strange as that might sound.
No, no. I just think it's an interesting background. You know, I've done many things in my life as well, so we haven't all woken up and
Yeah,
instantly known what we
it
wanted.
gives a breadth. It gives a breadth of life experience which you can carry
Yes.
over to eliminating people's conditions. It gives you a greater understanding for when people walk through your clinic door.
Mm. Mm. And so
Um,
you've run your own business now for how many years? How many years is it going on?
since '98, I think. So
So we're talking
I'm
20,
getting
what,
close to 25 years.
25 years-ish. Wow. Yeah. And that I think is reflected in your breadth of knowledge. You know a lot about so many different areas I've found. And I know you've got particular kind of experience with treating, yeah, people in pain, isn't it? A lot of people come to you when
Yeah,
they're in pain.
some of the people are in pain, yeah.
Yes. And so what do you offer them? I mean, what's the sort of, what do you look for? What are you trying to identify?
Okay, I'm trying to identify a problem area
Mm,
which is causing pain, discomfort, lack of mobility, restricting life in some way or another.
mhm,
And then to identify what the problem is in that area and to do something about it, whether that's to improve it in some way, preferably to eradicate the problem, but of course that's not always possible.
mm,
So
yeah.
I've kind of developed therapies and skills in that order. So I combine Dorn method, which is a very gentle structural correction method.
Mm,
And the main body working thing I use is Tui Na, which is Chinese medical massage,
mm,
and incorporated that in Western sports therapy. And I find that's a very, very potent tool set
yeah.
for musculoskeletal pain.
Mm, yeah. It's
So I'm looking at especially lower back and pelvic problems, spinal problems, neck problems, frozen shoulder, muscle strain,
mm,
repetitive strain injuries of all types,
mm,
all kinds of things like that.
mm, mm. And are there any sort of commonalities with all of that? Are there areas that everybody fails at or has an issue with?
Well, modern life, you know,
Well, there is that.
it
I'm
gets
thinking,
everybody, you know.
yeah, I'm
Um,
thinking more sort of, well, we sort of talked before we came on air about, breathing, how people breathe,
yeah,
that we
absolutely.
know that's an issue for a lot of people is they've got stuck, haven't they, in patterns of breathing, which are not really helping them release. Um,
Absolutely.
mm,
You know, it's part of actually what I meant when I said modern life, because modern
yeah,
life
uh-huh.
is so stressful.
Yes.
And stressful breathing, and when
Mm,
you're in stress mode, your breathing is high and shallow, and um, it's functional in terms of running away from tigers, the sort of evolutionary side of stress response, where you've got to run away from danger,
mm,
or you've got to fight danger, you've got to contest danger.
yeah.
That doesn't make an awful lot of sense in the modern world, where
No.
stress is coming from personal relationships, it's coming from the final demand arriving on the doormat. You can't beat the envelope up or run away from it. It just doesn't work.
Mm,
And the other stresses of work related stress, where you have a deadline, or you have
mm,
a line manager or a boss looking over your shoulder and you say, go away, I'm doing this, you do something else. No, I want this done. And that kind of stress needs management by strategists, and breathing strategies are a big part of
mm,
that, essential part of it. Because breathing is automatic. You know, everybody breathes. You don't have to think about it. But if you've got stressful breathing, it's up here. So where's the danger? What's going on? You've got tension, and you've got a whole host of things that kick in automatically with hormonal changes and nervous system changes. If you change your breathing, you address this at the same level at which it occurs. So it's all automatic. As soon as you change your breathing deliberately, and it's the only one you can get a handle on. As soon as you change your breathing, you can change your stress response.
Yeah, I've noticed that the breath is very linked to the autonomics, and the autonomic nervous system, what you're calling automatic, is the same thing, isn't it? It's the autonomic nervous system which controls everything. Seems to be regulated by the breath to some degree. Like the state you're in, you were talking about fight and flight. That's a sort of mobilization state, and then there's the restful kind of rest and digest state if you're breathing from your belly and feeling relaxed.
I agree with all of that. Breathing is so important in terms of people as an organism. There are such direct and important feedback mechanisms that feed into the control systems of the body, so that when you change your breath, you only need to take a long, slow, deep breath. You only need to take 3 or 4 of them before your body recognizes that there's a difference. You know that you have your heart rate changes, your blood oxygenation rate changes, the amount of carbon dioxide in your blood changes. Really basic, fundamental, not even human, mammalian things.
Yes.
That are millions and millions and millions of years old. They're absolutely fundamental. If you can get that right, then you're taking care of a major stressor, because if your body can't actually get enough oxygen, that in itself is a huge stressor.
Of course it is. Yeah, it's a very serious one.
So and I often do this with a lot of clients, is just any kind of deep breathing. Just watch a baby, or just put your hands across your belly, just fingertips, just touching. Long, slow, deep breath in. Your chest cavity fills, that expands to the abdomen. Your fingers just part. That's your telltale. So yeah. If you do that 12 to 15 times, everyone will change their stress response. If you practice at it, you only need 3 or 4. Then your body knows what's going to happen, so it changes quicker.
Yes.
You can either remember to do it, or you do it after a stressful event, or you do it, on the hour by the clock. Really important, you do it before you eat, so that you digest your food when you're in parasympathetic nervous system mode, rather than in a stress mode when the blood is going to your muscles and your awareness rather than your digestive system. Helps you digest your meal.
Yeah, very important. So that's a great thing. You can help everybody just get, and it helps them to get more aware of their bodies as well, because a lot of people are not aware of their own bodies or how they're functioning.
I think there's another aspect that doesn't get touched on so much as well. That oxygen is essential for energy. Just imagine walking up 2 or 3 flights of stairs. The only thing that stops you is because you get out of breath. It's the oxygen that's the limiting factor.
Yes.
Okay, so anybody who is tired or fatigued, it's often because they've been stressed and not breathing properly, and that they have a slight oxygen deficit. Because instead of changing the breathing rate, what you do is that you lower your activity level. Because most energy is aerobic, and you need oxygen for it. You just imagine a fire. You need fuel, and you need oxygen for it to burn.
Yes.
And you know, the thing has to draw, you know, so if it's choked with ash, you don't have a good fire.
Mm.
It has to draw the oxygen. And your body is exactly the same. So if you don't have good oxygenation, then your activity levels are more than they otherwise would be. And for people whose energy levels are compromised, it is absolutely essential that breathing is taken into account. Other things as well, you know, that it's postural. You know, if you're feeling sad or if your posture is poor, you're hunched over. Well, can't take a full breath.
Yeah.
Once you come up into good posture, you great breath. And
Yeah.
do you remember the Mr. Men?
Yes.
The little cards, you know, Mr. Happy.
Yeah. It's
You know,
postural.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. It's how you hold yourself.
If you just go into that posture, will set you off as being prepared to be happy. Whereas if you're in this 100, oh dear, woe is me, I'm so unhappy. You can't be happy because you can't breathe in. You can't hear all these mind-body connections.
Yeah.
All tied up, and breath is an integral part of it.
Yeah. So it's kind of helping people to retrain their nervous systems, isn't it? Away from that kind of, I don't know, collapsed state into one of more activation and alertness, but also a calm response. And I've noticed, well, I think you may know the story, but when I first got into, my story is not dissimilar to yours, but I was doing other things and then I got ill. And I remember going to see a practitioner who did acupuncture, as it happened, but he also did other things, and he was he taught massage, so he knew quite a lot about the body. And he said to me, have you noticed you've got a really head forward posture, you know, like, and I said, what do you mean? So I'd never heard of that before. Yes. And he was saying, no, your head is really forward, you know, your shoulders, the way you're carrying yourself is really off. And he sort of put me in position back, you know, back into how things should be. And I was like, oh yeah, I've forgotten. Yeah, it felt wrong because I've been like this for so long. And part of it gets habitual, doesn't it? It builds over time as the way things are, rather than how, you know, to actually correct them, you need to.
It's a bit of a vicious circle as well. Because if you're deoxygenating, you don't have enough energy, then you don't have the support in your postural muscles in order to maintain proper posture and then therefore proper breathing. So once you're so far down that road, it's very difficult to get it back. Which is why I like the chairs that I have, the one I'm sat in, because it means that I can lean back and gravity takes my shoulders and my head back, and it naturally opens
the chest.
My chest.
Yeah.
If I'm going to relax, I can have a relaxed breathing and a relaxed posture.
Without using a lot of energy. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Wow. Right. And energy is another important aspect, because we know a lot of people, don't we? We both see a lot of people with chronic fatigue syndromes and energy deficit issues, where their functioning has got so low that it's not just a case of stand up straight, you know, pull yourself together, is it? There's lots going on.
Absolutely.
So how would you approach that kind of situation?
Well, that's considerably more difficult, of course, because it's considerably more complicated.
Yes.
The one thing you can't do is take an energy drink.
Yeah.
Beyond that really does not work.
No.
That's that kind of thing is for people who have a metabolism who can take that. When you have that kind of energy deficit, all you're doing is making it worse. So that kind of thing is completely out. You have to come right back to the very start of how does your body make energy. You have to address it from two directions. One, to increase your energy production. Yeah. Two, to reduce the things which drain your energy.
Absolutely.
Without going into detail about that, everybody knows that. You know, there's the person, oh God, there's them again. Oh no. right? Or you walk into a room and I don't like this room. I'm not comfortable here. All of these things are energy drainers.
Yeah.
Okay, and the energy builders are things. Well, before we get technical, the first one is fun. If you're having a laugh, your energy is good.
Yeah.
And that helps to build energy because it gives you a memory of it too. But of course, making energy is a body process. So first of all, you need a good diet and good nutrition, because you need the not just the carbohydrate, fat, and protein, macronutrients. You also need a whole host of the micronutrients, which is what is generally missing in a Western society. Very few people can't get enough bulk to eat.
Yeah. It's the micronutrients.
Micronutrients that are the issue.
Yeah, they're limiting.
It's the micronutrients that are involved in the enzymes that convert one thing to another in the body. So the energy production system in, again, all mammals and most life actually, is called the citric acid cycle, or to old-fashioned people like me, it's called the Krebs cycle. That takes the nutrients that you've eaten, and that converts it into electrical energy and converts it into electrons. If you have sufficient oxygen, which is part of why I was saying oxygen is so important, then you have aerobic system, and that produces per unit about 36 electrons. If you don't have enough oxygen and you're working it anaerobically, you're producing 2 electrons. So the difference is fantastic. That's the difference between having a life and being able to do things, having a reasonable ordinary activity, and not being able to get out of bed. Literally not being able to get out of bed. That energy is reserved for your basic organs, your heart, your lungs, your kidney, your liver.
Yeah, just to keep you alive.
So somebody in the extreme ME, fibromyalgia, can't get out of bed. That's what's going on. They have to look after their mitochondria, because that's where this takes place. And you're not going to get anywhere at all unless you do that.
Yeah.
So it's about diet and nutrition. And there are certain shortcuts. People with low energy almost universally will use coenzyme Q10 because that allows electrons to be transferred within the mitochondria, and almost anyone with chronic fatigue will benefit from coenzyme Q10.
Yeah.
Also magnesium, almost universally, 98% or something like that.
Yeah.
And magnesium is involved in the energy conversion process. It's not just a relaxant for, I go hiking, come back, Epsom salts bath. Highly recommended, by the way, Epsom salts bath.
Oh, yes.
Do top tip. Because the magnesium relaxes, it allows the relaxation phase of the muscle contraction, but it's also used in this Krebs cycle to manufacture energy.
Yes.
B vitamins are also absolutely vital in that, and a few other bits and pieces, but without getting too technical about it, that's what you need. Yeah.
So people have got chronically they have a kind of form of malnutrition, really, but it's not lacking like carbohydrates and the macros. It's these micronutrient deficiencies, isn't it?
Well, yes, I would kind of agree with that, but things aren't definite yet. We don't actually know. What we do know is that everybody with chronic fatigue is short of mitochondria. Not so pleasant a subject during autopsy and things that when tissue is dissected, people who have chronic fatigue and ME have fewer mitochondria than people who don't have that.
They've been destroyed.
Is a key piece of the jigsaw, absolutely crucial.
Yeah.
These disorders.
Yeah.
Okay, and building that, and Just a little aside here, it seems to me that a lot of the damage is done through carbohydrate. Basically, this system has an input from carbohydrate, fat, and protein. So if you eat too much protein, you can go into then you can get drive energy from it. It's not the best way, it's not so efficient. But it seems to be the carbohydrate one which is not working for various reasons, and that's still open to discussion. But one of the things that can alleviate this is going over to a ketonic diet, which gives energy from fat to those same mitochondria, but in a slightly different pathway. And it seems that there can be big gains in energy from having a ketonic or a mixed diet. This is for everyone, because we don't want to just limit this to people with chronic fatigue. Is that everybody would benefit, or everybody's energy system would benefit from a mixed diet. So a little bit of fasting and going over to ketonic burning is actually a really good idea. Yeah,
I agree. And we all overeat carbs and we have less fat. That was the rule, wasn't it? To cut down fat, but actually good fats are really important for you, and the more we eat, the better, and the less reliant we are on carbohydrates to fill us up as well.
So I'm really glad you brought that up, because certain fats are anti-inflammatory. Nearly all the modern Western
saturated type,
the diabetes, the heart attacks, the cardiovascular, the strokes, Alzheimer's, these metabolic, that's the word I'm looking for, these metabolic disorders, all seem to be carbohydrate based, or simple carbohydrate based.
It's almost poisoning our system, isn't it? The too many
and they're all inflammatory. That's they're all inflammatory. So having an anti-inflammatory diet, or strong elements of anti-inflammatory nutrients, is also really important. The most important one of those would be fish oil.
Some form of fish oil. You can get even ones now that don't require fish. You can do it from kelp, I think, is it, or
you can
some
do
form of
krill.
Krill, that's it.
It's a little bit down the food chain.
It
has better antioxidants actually, but it's just more concentrated in fish. And there are worries of, if you go fishing for krill, where you're going to have an environmental impact. And so for vegetarians, that can be a little bit because of the quantity and the concentration, but things like flaxseed oil can cover the base there.
I use that a lot in my regular diet. So so really, I think the most important thing you're giving me is that you can make, the average person can make changes. You don't need to be doing anything majorly different. You just have to change your lifestyle and your habits and your diet to kind of tweak things to make it possible for your body to heal, which I think is the naturopathic or natural medicine view. Is we're not just trying to fix a problem, we're trying to heal the body and create this perfect environment for a good metabolism and good posture, and the body and the mind are working together in harmony. So I love the way you bring things together. I find it very inspiring, and I know that we could probably talk. I think there's another talk in this about more about the mitochondria and the sort of low energy, but we're going to stop pretty much here, I think. So maybe we'll do another one on that kind of the pacing and pushing, beyond your mitochondrial capabilities and so on.
It's a subject in itself.
Right? It is, isn't it? So I'd love to do that. But in the meantime, thank you so much. And can I ask?
I've enjoyed it. I have to say, excellent. I was nervous to start with.
Don't worry, everyone is. How can people contact you if they want to come and see you?
Okay, my website, orchotherapist.co.uk.
Brilliant.
Phone number 02380 230 251.
Wow, brilliant. Yep.
Okay.
That'll do it. So
Okay,
it's been lovely talking to you, and we'll organize another one soon.
yeah.
All right.
Okay, Tricia, that's great.
Okay.
Good speaking to you.
And everybody, you can subscribe, and you can also find me on alchemytherapies.co.uk. Bye for now.